Can you believe there's a princess in the kingdom who can heal any sick heart? She heard about a very sad woman. Will the princess be able to help her sick son before the son disappears? A long time ago, in a faraway land, there was a beautiful princess who had everything she could possibly want or need. She lived in a massive castle with high walls that no one could scale and deep moats that no one could cross. And she had a loving father, the king, who doted on her and gave her everything she desired. But despite all of this, the princess wasn't happy. She felt empty inside and longed for something more, something to fill the void in her heart. One day, while walking through the castle gardens, the princess noticed a poor woman sitting on a nearby bench. The woman was dressed in rags, and her hair and clothes were dirty, and the princess couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her. She walked over to the woman and asked what she was doing there. The woman looked up at the princess and explained that she had a sick child at home who needed medicine from the castle. She had heard that the king was a kind and generous man and was hoping he would give her some money so she could buy the medicine her child needed. The princess felt a surge of excitement. This was exactly what she had been looking for, a chance to do something meaningful with her life, something to fill the void in her heart. She told the woman that she would personally deliver the request to the king and make sure he helped her. The woman thanked the princess and watched as she skipped away towards the castle. When the princess told her father, the king, about the poor woman and her sick child, he was furious. How can you talk to me about helping a beggar? You know very well that they only want our money so they can beg for more, he said, shaking his head in disbelief. The princess tried to reason with him, telling him that this woman really needed his help, but the king wouldn't listen. He told her to forget about the woman and go take a bath. Then he went back to studying some papers on his desk. The princess was shocked by her father's reaction. She couldn't believe he would turn his back on someone in need. She decided then and there that she would help the woman herself, even if it meant going against her own father. She went to her room and took out one of her golden hairpins, then went to find the woman and gave it to her. Here, please sell this hairpin and use the money to buy your child some medicine, she said. The woman was surprised and touched by the princess's generosity and thanked her profusely. She promised the princess that she would use the money only for her child as medicine and nothing else. Then she left, clutching the hairpin in her hand, and hurried to the nearest jeweler. When the woman got to the jeweler's shop, she explained to him that she needed money and asked him to sell her hairpin. The jeweler examined the hairpin and told her that it was probably worth quite a lot of money. But since he didn't have the proper equipment to assess its value, he suggested that she take it to the royal jeweler. The woman knew that the royal jeweler would give her more money for the hairpin than any other jeweler. But she was also afraid to go there because she was just a poor beggar and the royal jeweler might not want to talk to her. Nevertheless, she decided to go to the royal jeweler and see what he offered her for the hairpin. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the princess couldn't stop thinking about the poor woman and her child. She had done everything she could to help them, but she still felt uneasy. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something was missing. So she decided to go to the castle wall and sneak out. She wanted to see the poor woman and make sure she was using the money for her child as medicine. As she climbed down the castle wall, she saw a beautiful white horse with a golden saddle. The horse was tied up beside the wall, and a small basket was placed on its back. Curiosity got the better of her, and she couldn't help but wonder what the basket was doing there. Just then, the horse started moving, and the basket swayed with it. That is when the princess noticed that the basket contained the same woman who had asked the king for help. She was sitting in the basket and holding the golden hairpin in her lap. The princess was confused and didn't know what to do. Should she call out to the woman and introduce herself? Or should she follow the horse and see where it was going? She decided to do both. She called out to the woman in the basket and introduced herself. But the woman didn't respond. She kept her eyes fixed on the road ahead. The princess then realized that the woman must be an important person in the kingdom, someone who didn't want to be recognized in public. The princess decided to follow the horse and see where it would take her. She walked quickly through the forest, following the path the horse had taken. She didn't know how long she had been walking, but she was starting to get tired. Just then, she saw a clearing ahead and decided to run towards it. As she ran, she saw the most beautiful garden she had ever seen. There were flowers of all colors imaginable, and the air was filled with the sweet sound of birds singing. In the middle of the garden was a small house made of wood. The princess stopped to admire the beautiful surroundings and couldn't help but feel a sense of calm wash over her. Just then, the woman from the basket came out of the house and saw the princess standing in front of her. "Who are you?" the princess asked. The woman smiled and replied, "I am the fairy godmother of this kingdom, and you, my dear, are the only person who has ever come to visit me without being summoned." The princess was shocked. She couldn't believe that she had stumbled upon the legendary fairy godmother. "Why did you come to my garden?" the fairy godmother asked. The princess explained that she had seen the woman earlier begging for money for her sick child and had given her a golden hairpin to sell. The fairy godmother listened patiently and then said, "You are a kind and compassionate soul, princess, and I am pleased with you." Princess blushed and looked down. She didn't know what to say. She had only done what she thought was right, and she didn't expect any praise for it. The fairy godmother continued, "Because of her kindness, I am granting you 3 wishes." The princess was stunned. She couldn't believe she was actually talking to a fairy godmother and that she was being granted 3 wishes. "What kind of wishes?" she asked hesitantly. The fairy godmother explained that she could wish for anything she wanted, within reason. Of course, she could wish for more money, more power, or even more beauty. The princess thought about her options. She could wish for more wealth and luxury, but she had already seen what that was like, and it hadn't brought her any happiness. She could wish for more power and control, but she didn't want to be like her father, who seemed so unhappy and unfulfilled. Finally, she thought of the poor woman and her sick child and realized that what she really wanted was to help them. "I wish for the woman and her child to be healthy and happy," she said. The fairy godmother waved her magic wand, and the princess's wish was granted. The woman and her child were indeed cured of their illness, and they lived happily ever after. The princess was overjoyed and thanked the fairy godmother for making her wish come true. From that day on, the princess became known throughout the kingdom as a kind and compassionate ruler. She used her power to help the poor and needy and never forgot the valuable lesson she had learned from the fairy godmother. As for the fairy godmother, she continued to live in her beautiful garden, waiting for the next person who would be worthy of her help. If you enjoyed the story, my little kids, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exciting stories to come.